Hi YouTube, I am talking quietly because my son's asleep. I hope I don't wake him up because it's nap time. Right, as you can tell by the title, I'm going to talk about my life in Germany today because I was asked to as part of my Q&A, and I thought it'd be easiest if I just put it in one video. First up, a few things about background, I suppose, about my life in Germany. I first came to Germany when I was 20 and I couldn't speak German at the time. Not a word, not a single word. I'd studied French at school and at university for a while, and I fell crazily in love with another German guy who I didn't stay with, but I'm really grateful to for having brought me to Germany the first time, because of him I started learning German at all. I studied French and German at university. I came to Germany for my year abroad when I was 22, 23. I went to Munich and I had, well, certainly one of the best years of my life. I met my husband in 2004 in Ireland, as most of you will know, and we lived in London for a while then after that, for about 3 years, roundabout I think. And then we moved here just after, well, just around about when I was getting married, when we got married. Yeah, so I'm living in the south of Germany, in Bavaria, and currently we are living in a city. Now I'm going to start answering some of your questions, right? So I'm going to answer the easier ones first, a bit of a chicken. Oh yeah, before I even actually talk about the questions themselves, I was in two minds whether to do this video at all. Really saying what you really think is a bit scary. I'm not saying it's all going to be negative or positive, but some of it is probably going to annoy some people, but it's my impression of how things have been for me. That doesn't mean it's the way it is for everyone. Oh, and another thing I feel I must say, the main thing is, when you move to another country, even if you're the most ambitious, intrepid, exploring person, and even if you're absolutely fluent in the language of the other country, like I was when I properly moved to Germany, you know, so I married a woman a few years ago, it's hard. It is really hard. You have to adjust yourself and really change some sides of yourself to adapt to your new country. Independent from whatever country you move to is going to be hard. Of course, the more different the culture is, the more harder, or the more you have to change in order to fit in. And I get the impression, I may be wrong, but I'm sure a lot of you girls would agree with me. I think that's a different thing for women than it is for men, because I think even if in the States you move from, say, I don't know, Texas to Minnesota, as just an example, and you move away from your family, and then you're very much in the bosom of the family of your husband, you can feel quite lonely. So that is tricky in itself as well. Okay, now to get on to the specific question. Do we live in the countryside or in a town with infrastructure? At the moment we live in a town with very good infrastructure. It's a very rich town, and we will be moving in a few weeks. Very soon, and we're moving to the country. Very little infrastructure, but with very good connections, so as long as you can drive, it's really good. It's not out in the back of beyond, it's on the way to the back of beyond, let's put it that way. Do you manage to get time to do things for you other than YouTube? What do you do? In all honesty, YouTube and seeing friends or other mums is about it at the moment. It is improving. Are German mums competitive? Yes, they can be. I think saying they all are would be totally unfair, because I feel in Germany you have a very huge difference between people who live in the city and people who live on the countryside, and that's a huge generalization, but it's been my experience. I'm perfectly prepared to be proven otherwise. I think people in the countryside, as far as my experience has been so far, are extremely chilled and are not competitive at all. People I've known so far from the city. Now, not all of them, just some of them have a serious tendency to be competitive. I think what I find most difficult, and now moving into what's challenging, more as a British mum living in Germany, I think I can answer that best so far, is that Germans like to give advice, and they don't mean anything nasty by that, but for some people, say from the States or Britain, giving unwanted advice can actually be interpreted as rude, but the German person doesn't mean to be rude at all. And they don't really mean, I don't think they're really aware that they're essentially criticising your parenting or criticising some area of your life in giving you advice or in the way that they give you advice. This was actually brought up in a parenting magazine in Germany recently. But they really only mean the best by it. Hey, well, it's time I think that I said some positive things about living in Germany. Sorry, any Germans who may be watching this is going to sound terrible so far. I lived in Wales and then I also lived in London in Britain. I find the standard of life here is higher. The healthcare is much, much better. I once commented, I feel like a princess with diamonds on the soles of my shoes when I go into a doctor here. I'm treated really well. I'm taken seriously. Doctors take time to see you here. I'm really impressed with healthcare there. One of the reasons we moved here is that we knew we could probably survive here, not forever, but at least for a few years on just his salary. And I don't think that would have been the case, certainly not in London, maybe in Wales for a little while, but certainly wouldn't have been the case in London. We needed both our salaries. I wouldn't have been able to be a stay-at-home mum and stay home as long as I have with my son. No way. I don't think I know if I'd have been living in Britain. I would have had to have gone back to work for financial reasons within 6 months. The way that the political system and welfare is set up in Germany, women have more options here. I feel that they're not aware of how good they have it, or that they could really here combine career and a child. Right, back again. Sorry this is so choppy, but I have a toddler. I have to really try and squeeze in the time to make this video. Yeah, talking about choice and equality and all that kind of stuff, my experience is social structures are in place in Germany that women could have the best of both worlds, if that's really possible at all. But at least here in Bavaria, I feel, at least among the people I know, I feel that you are expected to stay home for at least a year, and I have no problem with that. I wanted to do that anyway, but I really think that it can be quite frowned upon. You know, going back to work too soon, sorry, for a mum here is, in my opinion, frowned upon. And I also think that there's a lot of pressure on mums in Germany. There's a lot of pressure on mums nowadays anyway, everywhere, all over the world. And you know, mothers are great, and women generally we're just very good at putting pressure on ourselves. To sum up though, Germany's been good to me. For all the complaining I've done over the last 10 or so minutes, I wouldn't have a job if the German language didn't exist, because I was a German teacher, and I love the German language. And since I've been here, I did find a job pretty quickly with exactly the same status as the one I had before. So I don't think many people can say that. So Germany's been very good to me. I had my son and I had great care there and was able to stay at home paid for a year. So I really can't complain. I think Germany is seriously underrated. It's a beautiful country. It's a very social country, and yet it's a country that's making a lot of money, doing very well financially. I don't think there's many countries in the world that can really say that. For all its weird and wacky and wonderful ways, Germany is a good country to live in.